All right, everybody, good afternoon and welcome on back. Continuing along, of course, our Monday afternoon here live in the Cyber Group Trading Room and streaming across social media, guys, Facebook Live and YouTube. Welcome on back. Let's get a quick sound check just to begin. Make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. While you guys do so, a quick birthday shout out actually to one of our employees, Danielle H. She's been working her tail off the last few weeks with us here. So happy birthday, Danielle. Great to see everybody. Jerry, Lori, Bonnie, Kathleen, Dale, Phil, Tim. Great to see you all loud and clear from all. Perfect. All right. And like I said, anybody joining us just on the internet, streaming across Facebook Live and YouTube. So, guys, with this in mind, the Blink trade, one of our students, June, had mentioned this during the morning meeting. You guys can go back on that video just right on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/cybertradingu. But, at the time in the morning, I said, it's a tradable stock. It's one that, we've been following, rightfully so over the last month and a half, but wasn't doing a whole lot in pre-market. Little peak over 7 from there, tailed off. Didn't really do too much. I guess if you had the shares to short it, that would be the better play. But, hey, that doesn't mean that we're not going to follow the stock throughout the remainder of the whole day. I mean, we ended up seeing this gain some steam up towards the highs again off 7. And I mean, look at where it is now. This thing ended up surpassing all expectations this afternoon so far. So beautiful trend. The spread's opening up a bit. It has been, just especially off that last break from resistance at 750. But for right now, I mean, hey, how could I not start by putting this on our list for the afternoon? So if you didn't like it in the morning, you should be loving it this afternoon, if not already. So yeah, for the meantime, I will say this. Looks like the high of the day, 798. I just find that pretty interesting because you would figure major resistance would be off of 8. There's probably a lot more volume aside from the 7,400 shares on the ask here. But not even that. Look at the yellow line on my 1 minute chart. I forgot that I even had that up. I guess it's a blessing in disguise. You go back on the daily chart here, back from Thursday, you end up seeing the opening and closing prints. Looks like 806 the open price roughly on Thursday. And then the close, and I guess that's where this comes into play, 794. We ended up seeing this top off just shortly under 8, over 794, underneath 8, pulled back pretty sharply. Either way, just you would like to represent that smart money as a major point of interest, if anything, in this case, resistance, right? So, it didn't top off right at 8, goes to show why we can't look to trade perfectly level to level, expecting this to hit 8, and then just for you to sell right at the whole number. It didn't happen that way, guys. So, for right now, just we'll look to see this make a new higher low, hopefully burst over that top going into the afternoon. All right. Aside from that, though, guys, I will say, it's a Monday. It ended up doing market did a lot better. I mean, generally across the board, but we had a lot of activity actually a lot later into the morning than I had expected. Things tailed off pretty quickly, though, from that point. And since, I mean, maybe aside from Blink, it's kind of been like watching the paint dry. So, what we'll actually do is just go from top to bottom. We'll certainly check in on the airlines, cruise lines. I failed to do that actually at the end of the morning meeting, so I certainly will look to do that just at the end here. They all ended up running up. So we ended up seeing a nice move across the board for a lot of the airlines and cruise lines in particular. So let's get to it. CGIX. So if it's not Blink, I'm going to start with, it's going to be the CGIX, right? I made this statement in the trading room. Normally, I'm not like this, and I'm still legitimate with this claim. I mean, it just hasn't hit it just yet. At 10:19 in the morning, after this hit the top over 10, it made the pop and drop. I said to you guys here in the chat board, I said, all right, guys, well, I'll see you at $5. Meaning, I mean, at the minimum, this thing's not going to make a clean buying opportunity for us to follow. It ended up holding support nicely around the 7. Looks like off the lows, maybe like 680-ish, 675. Ended up making that little peak over the yellow line, the 747. That's the opening bell print from this morning. So for what it's worth, it ended up making a nice push after 9:30. And obviously in pre-market, this thing was like the bigger, one of the biggest wins across the whole month. But for right now, at least, I wouldn't expect this to do anything but tail off further. I still think this will hit 5. That's why I have the line there. So, hey, who knows? Maybe this will make the bounce off 5 today. If it's not today, then maybe it's later on this week, maybe tomorrow or Wednesday. Yeah, but for right now, the CGIX, we'll just kind of skip over here. All right, and really, guys, we'll go from top to bottom. The BRQS, we didn't go over this one to begin, or I should say we didn't trade this, so I guess I'll take the time to go over this quickly. This one kind of snuck up on us, right? Like dollar stock, ended up making the push shortly after 9:30, ended up moving up towards like 150 and got halted. Gapped up much higher, ended up fizzling out, but moved up higher later on. kind of similar to the CGIX, just, CGIX ran much further into the pre-market, whereas this ended up doing most of its work actually after 9:30. But either way you look at it, this one looks like it's going to tank too. And same to be said, the Sun trade. I will say it's holding nicely, and that's kind of what I thought it was going to do at this point. So to go over this trade, guys, we kind of loosely mentioned that Sun and a couple of other trades from, I guess from the report yesterday, I guess with the plasma vaccine, possibility. But we ended up seeing Sun in particular. It's a cheapie, and it's one that we've traded in the past too. So, going into this morning, it wasn't a surprise to see this as our top percent gainer. Ended up only continuing to pull back after the market opened up. It didn't really, I'm sure there were a couple of opportunities where you could have picked up 15, 20, 25 cents. But for the most part, once I ended up seeing this make the pop then drop, I personally moved on, at least for right now. A few of our students had called this out going into the afternoon. So I want to bring this up quick. Unlike the others, actually, and I said this before inside the trading room, I said I don't think this one's going to tank like the CGIX at this point. It ended up already making a full pump and dump move. Not a full dump. It didn't really, dump and fill the gap on the daily chart. I get that. But to see a stock go from, 2 all the way up to 450-ish, then all the way back down to under 350, then back, I don't expect this to just tank later on. If anything, I would just expect it to kind of stall out and not really do as much. It seems like it's kind of trying to push here. So, you know what? We'll actually add this to our list. Blink on there so far, and we'll add Sun. So far, I like this new push. Oh, and while we're at it, actually, since I have Bookmap up, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it up on the stream here. Let's see. I'm going to have to give me a quick second here. Let's see. Maybe I could do a little bit of this. Aha, there we go. Look at that. All right, so where are we at here on this Sun trade? Here's our Bookmap, our level 4. This thing just broke over some big volume on the offer here around 410, making the push up to the next resistance off of like 425-ish, it seems like. Yeah, roughly 72,000 shares on the ask at 425. After that's 450. And even in between there, yep, you got the opening print. 440, the opening print, a 384,000 share order on the ask. So, that's certainly going to act as a point of resistance, if anything, stronger than 450, I think. All right, so you know what? Here, let me do a little bit of this while we put this on our list here for the meantime. $440, we'll just put the line right there. All right, so hopefully this pushes up at least up towards that 440 or maybe like 438-ish. You don't want to try and sell right at the level, just like what happened last time here. All right, what else do we have here, guys? So we have the Blink, we have the Sun trade so far. I thought Shell was pushing up beautifully today, and yes, still is. New all-time highs on this Shell trade. EV stock too. Yep, we ended up trading them going back into the end of June, as you could see. Definitely more of a level 4 to 5 stock. The spread opening up, tightening up, sporadically. So it's kind of unpredictable in that sense, right? I would say, if anything, your next major resistance, it's easy to interpret it, but the next whole number at $40. Right now, there's not even that much on level 2. There's about like 70 or 786 shares. That's all I see routed through the NASDAQ. 846 now. It's kind of increasing in size a bit. Let's see. Up 13,000. There we go. Yep. Oh, and you know what? Now it makes sense. Shell's an NYSE stock, so a lot of the volume coming from the New York Stock Exchange comparative to the NASDAQ. So there's the big prints on the tape. There's the pop over 40, new all-time high. All right, so we got 2 EV stocks on our list already, guys. How about that? We were talking about that earlier today with Solo, SOLO. This one is, I guess, like they took the battery out on this one. All right, that's my joke of the day. So Solo not really doing much of anything. Blink and Shell pushing up beautifully. Well, check out NEO. I should have put NEO on the morning watch list. It was one I wrote down like super early in the morning. I had a coaching session with one of our traders at like 8 o'clock before I hopped on the stream. We were looking at NEO. We were talking about it, and I didn't put it on the list. It ended up making this pop and drop after 9:30. Seems like it's pushing up a little bit right now. Maybe I'll come back to this at the very end. I feel like there's another EV stock, though. There's a couple. I think Workhorse, WKHS, they have an affiliation. It's popping run up after holding support off 1550. AYRO, says Jerry inside our trading room. Yeah, I mean, if it is, it's kind of like, it's like similar to that solo trade. All right, so I guess they're not all moving either way. Shell, definitely we're going to keep on our list. IBIO, familiar name. So right away, guys, the IBIO stock, we ended up watching briefly after the market opened up. It was on the CTU morning watch list. I didn't think it was worthwhile as a pre-market pick, but once the market opened up, you would figure if this thing is going to make the type of push you would hope for, it would be shortly after 9:30. So we ended up seeing this begin to pull back once the market opened, hit a low of 185, ended up breaking over resistance at the time at 2. And I'll be honest, I thought this thing would make a move at the time towards that 230. It ended up making it pretty fast. So at that point, I thought, figuring the timing of the day, it might just fizzle out, not really do much from that point. Man, this thing just kept going. So this IBIO ended up making the continued move up, as you could see, up through and back, well, eventually under 250. Hit high of the day 269. From there, ended up making lower highs, almost like a pennant pattern, filling in sideways, and then from there pulled back. So right now, definitely not worthwhile. I mean, obviously, if you're looking at it as like a day-to-day stock, maybe trying to swing trade it off the run up, it certainly pulled back. So, if you're thinking positive across the rest of the week, you would hope to see this hold support inch back up, but that's not what we're looking to do. At least once we put a stock on the morning watch list, or even here the afternoon, we're not necessarily focused on the swing side of it. If we end up seeing a stock close at or near the highs of the day, perhaps we'll end up seeing it move up higher or extend going into the next morning in pre-market. At this point, Groupon could certainly be one of those stocks. So kind of just going back to the gainer side here, folks, the Groupon trade was one I kind of commented on inside the trading room going into the early afternoon. We missed the initial run up, but man, what a move. This thing is, I think this is like the second time that we've seen this stock just extend from market open to now. I mean, yes, it did pull back from 33.44, dropped a buck, but I mean, for as much as the stock moved up, you got to ask yourself, when is it going to actually like make a significant pullback? So, this thing just kind of ran and then just kind of moved sideways, ran, moved sideways, ran. And now at this point, little pullback, but I still like this going into the afternoon. And if anything, if I'm wrong and this thing ends up like crapping the bed, going the complete other way, it's shortable, so like we always say, and with good reason, we've seen that happen like quite frequently. If it's not breaking higher, there's only one other way it's going to go. The worst case scenario, I guess there's two other ways, right? I had a student mention that to me like a number of months back. When I say if it's not going higher, there's only one other way it's going to go. They end up commenting, well, it can go sideways. Yeah, but you should know when to move on to another stock, right? I mean, like this thing still has range even when it's slowing down a bit here. So, regardless, this one definitely we're going to put on our list. But, if it ends up kind of breaking the other way than you would hope for it to, if it is shortable, much like ADMA. Look at this thing. ADMA was one of the best trades of the day, guys. I don't know if you guys realize that. I saw a few people jump in on the short side, but not really for like the type of profit that you would hope for this thing to really move down towards. I mean, if anything, off good news, you'd hope for this thing to bounce, push back up. So maybe you get out, take a small profit. But man, even after 8 o'clock, this thing just kept breaking through support. You just see it on the chart. But, leading into the market open, once this thing ended up dropping from its opening bell print, easy break below support off of 340, ended up holding underneath 320 for quite a bit. But, going into the mid to late morning, you would expect for this like sideways trend to kind of happen. Well, it ended up beginning to fail to move up higher, ended up pulling back. And once this rebroke below support at 3, this ended up making a nice like 18-20 cent move down, low of the day 282. So for right now, and I kind of took my time just moving my chart here as I was explaining this, but for right now, I mean, I feel like this stock trading 79.5+ million shares, it's probably exhausted. It is near the lows, and I do like that. So maybe I will come back to this just at the very end, but it's just kind of flat for the meantime. I don't know how much of the I don't know if it's going to be worth the opportunity of just watching this. All right, let's see what else we got here, guys. That was my first water break of the meeting here. Let's see, VVPR. Nice pop just here right now of 18+%. Spread's pretty big. We're going to pass on it for the meantime. Remember, it's Monday. Got a whole rest of the week here, folks. Not a whole lot happens typically on Monday. That's why I say that for all of us tuning in on social media. For all of our students here, you guys know based on class, roughly around, the late morning, we end up finishing up. And at least going into the days of the week, normally Mondays and Fridays, and Fausto mentions this during the morning meeting himself, you normally don't tend to see as much news out there for a publicly traded company, not as much earnings at least. And based around that, you'd figure the same to be said off any other, sort of news. GIVO is pushing up a bit, ended up moving up earlier today. It's trading 74 million shares just about. You'd figure that's a hell of a lot, but comparative to what this thing ended up trading back on Thursday, I mean, that's like a fraction. It's like 1%. And that's less than 1%. Yeah, for right now, GIVO, I'll keep it on the side. Maybe I'll come back to it. I want to go through everything else first. I don't know why I clicked this one. RMBL. Pretty low volume. All right, let's just kind of skim here, see if there's anything else on the gainer side here, guys. Looking good. SIG, maybe. Familiar name. It's kind of holding near the highs. I think we traded this stock more. Let me just zoom out here and make sure. I mean, yeah, it dropped off with everything else, but I think more so over here we were watching this maybe a month and a half back in early June. This was a really nice drop off, really good short opportunity. All right, XSPA, XSPA. I think we had this on our morning watch list as well. Yes, we did. Dud, right? I mean, dropped off after the open, never really ended up making a good buying opportunity. If you jumped in off the lows here, it's easy to say that you're up, but, we're not, I mean, again, it's exactly that, easy to say. We're looking to try and follow the momentum, so this never really set itself up for a great buying opportunity. Maybe going into the afternoon, with all of that in mind, it ran going into the morning, dumped off, and I'd say it's not really trading a whole lot of volume comparative to its average. Prior to today, and trading about 8.2 million shares, right now trading 8.9. It's like not really that much above its average. It'll pick up over time, but I mean, you compare this to GIVO, you compare this to CGIX, this is nothing. So right now, actually, I'll put XSPA back on the list. Doesn't mean that we're going to trade it, but it is holding strong right near the highs of the day. All right, I lost my mouse there. All right, let's see. I think that just about does it on the gainer side, folks. Let's hop over to the losers list. If there's anything else that's looking good, that's up like 10% plus, let me know. And before we go, trust me, I will not fail to go through the airlines, casinos like I did at the end of the morning meeting. Let me jump back to ODT. That was like a really lazy skip through. I just looked at the spread and liquidity. I kind of pushed away quick, rightfully so, but this thing is near the lows and it is shortable too. I mean, that's pretty interesting to see. Looks like it's at like historical support from the daily chart, roughly. 1950, 1807, the low, all the way back from March 18th. I mean, yeah, I like the trend for the meantime. The order book seems pretty empty. I'd keep your focus just around the whole numbers for right now. Whole numbers 50-cent levels, but ODT, why not? Keep an eye on it. Let's see. I saw Andrea call that TCDA today earlier this morning, and rightfully so. Ended up making a drop off shortly after 8 o'clock. I don't think I put this on the list, but ended up filling in as far as the order book. Tight spreads right now, pulling back pretty gradually. Looks like some big prints here at 10.095. We'll round down. We'll round down right there. 10.09. All right. So smart money right there, guys. Let's see if this could break through 10.09, end up pulling back towards the next support, presumptively off 10. And yeah, we'll see where it takes us. TCDA. All right. That just about does it, guys. I mean, INO, I think we had on the list, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was on the tail end. This one ended up making the exact move I was hoping for it to make. We were focused on, the CGIX. We were focused on the Sun trades, Shell. I didn't have a chance to jump in, but it ended up making the move. So I know we were hopeful for a breakdown here if the or once the market opened up. And roughly around 10:15, 10:30ish, you would hope for reversal time. Ended up making this little under and over move, but once this makes the break below 1250 support yet again, you got to get out. But from there, it ended up bouncing pretty nicely off the 12 level. That's what you would hope for, and hopefully a sharper move up than this. But yeah, for right now, this thing seems really flat. Current time is 2:50 Eastern time, folks. We'll just make sure we finish up in the next couple of minutes. NVAX, for as much as this went up over the last 3-4 months, this thing's been getting beat up the last 2 weeks. Just wanted to take a look at it. I mean, pretty pricey if you follow the more expensive stocks. And maybe keep an eye on this, but I'm going to pass. HARP, we were talking about this from earlier this morning. Didn't put it on the list, but yeah, kind of pulling back further. And VBIV, kind of familiar name. I haven't checked in on this one in the last week or so, but we followed it for the last month prior to that. So for what goes up does come back down. This thing slowed down quite a bit, though, from the morning. All right, airlines, cruise lines, casinos. That's it, right? Peter, chat board. American Airlines, nice push after the open, obviously, and then from there squeezing back up towards the highs. We're just going to check in on the airline ETF, Jets. All right, so the whole sector is holding strong, not just AAL, with that in mind. Airlines, cruise lines, casinos. Let's take a look. NCLH. I don't think there's a cruise line ETF, and if there is, I don't know of it yet. Nice pop after the open. Pulled back a little bit from its highs going into the afternoon. RCL, kind of hanging in there. All right, so you know what? I mean, they're all tradable, right? And we'll jump to the casino stocks too. But for right now, I'll definitely put the airlines on there. They're all just moving pretty strongly near the highs for right now. CCL is one of our better trades today. I just will mention that. Carnival Cruise Lines is holding near the highs. So maybe out of everything, we will put CCL on the main list there. Had a huge resistance, big volume spike at 1620. I called that out right at the time. Pulled back pretty sharply. All right, so we did it. We got the airlines there. We got everything else. From Grant Works, WORX, not like Slack Technology. Yeah, really good call, Grant. How about that? And I didn't have my Benzinga Pro in front of me, so I'm going to minimize this window. You guys can't see that window. Let's see. Where's my freaking thing? Obviously, we're going to put this on our list. Great call from Grant here. Let's see if there's anything else that I did miss with that in mind. Maybe CNK, Cinemark. I don't know if anyone jumped on the Cinemark call out just yet. Looks like that keeps chugging along. There we go. Maybe AMC. Not really. All right, so I do like that Works call out from Grant, definitely. And then ORTX from RJF on YouTube. So yeah, I mean, I thought did I skip over this? Yeah, I may have skipped over this. I definitely did, actually. Maybe I thought this was like a much cheaper stock. I don't know. But I definitely skipped over it. I would have put this on the list right away. Right within our price range. Spreads are tight, right near the highs. Great call. And shortable. Craps out the other way. See, that's why I always like to ask. Work together as a team here. That's right. You guys got my back. How about X from Jay inside our trading room here? Well, I will say right away, I'm a big fan of X, or I used to be. It's just, yeah, it's too slow. It's near the highs, holding strong. So for all of those reasons, Jay, I'd say it's tradable. But just right now, it's just so slow. So even if it does break higher, how much is it going to get you? Oh, and there's latest call from Grant. All right, well, partial credit then. All right. Let's see. What do we have? From Greg, and I'll do FMCI. Whoa, what the hell is going on here? All right. Let's see, FMCI. Tattooed Chef. That's the name. What the hell? Is that the name of the company? says forum merger to corp. I have no idea. I'm going to copy and paste the headline that I just read, or as I started to read it. It says tattooed chef appoints Charles Cargyle as CFO. And that's in relation to this squeeze up. FMCI, this is news out from, I guess, this morning at 8 a.m. I have no idea. Huge run up, though, for right now. So I don't know what's driving this move aside from that little snippet, that headline that I just copied and pasted. But yeah, fantastic call. I mean, spreads are pretty big, but yeah, I mean, we'll see if we could try and beat the spread, buy in the bid, sell in the offer, or if anything, as we like to teach here in the trading room, aside from that, just try and follow it level to level. You don't want to try and use a market order at a minimum and just jump in like 30 cents higher than you should be. If anything, just try and wait for pullbacks, see if a stock could break through a level and try and jump in as it pulls back down to it. All right, guys, aside from that, we have a really good list now at this point. Good as in the number of stocks that are moving right now at this time, and good as in just the number of stocks. We have 3, we have 6, 9, 10, and aside from that, all the airlines. So we have like 10 actual stocks and then just the entire airline sector. All right, so there's a lot to work with, folks. And aside from that, if there's anything else that will move, we'll look to call it out shortly after 3 p.m. Eastern time, 3:15, if anything, going into the final few minutes of the day. All right, guys, for all of us streaming on social media, keep in mind we have our live workshop tomorrow. Feel more than free to join us inside our trading room for that. We try and do that on social media like rarely every now and then, but we're going to be doing it for all of us inside the trading room tomorrow. That's our live workshop Traders Talk. Aside from that, if you'd like to learn more, just make sure that you guys subscribe, notify yourself on our YouTube channel. Once again, that's youtube.com/cybertradingu. For all of us inside the trading room here, I'm going to take a small break on the audio. I'll jump back on at 3:30 myself, taking us into the close. Take care.